Welcome back, everyone. In this lesson, we're going to focus on building a detailed responsibility matrix that defines specific information management duties, assigns clear accountability for the delivery, and also ensures seamless collaboration across all of the different project teams so that we can meet the ISO 19650 requirements.
So, as you can see, the detailed responsibility matrix is essential for creating clarity, improving collaboration, and avoiding misunderstandings. But Clive, what do you think are some of the challenges teams face when defining this matrix?
Well, it's the classic passing the blame scenario. This video shows it all, doesn't it? One team member points the finger at another, and suddenly nobody really knows who's responsible. It's the perfect example of what happens when roles aren't clearly defined. People are pointing fingers and blaming each other. We've all been there. I've been there myself. I remember working on projects where we failed to define clear responsibilities early enough, and we ended up with so many teams involved that everyone assumed that somebody else was going to be responsible for tasks, and it ends up that we miss the really key critical tasks, and we end up in that blame game at the end of it with people pointing fingers. It caused unnecessary delays and a lot of frustration between the teams. So, when we look back, I think that if we created a detailed responsibility matrix, it would have been night and day. It would have really helped us to define the clear roles so that everyone understands exactly what is expected of them. Of course, it's not easy. You've got to balance it, the structure of a detailed responsibility matrix with enough flexibility so that you can adapt to the change. And that's a real demand, that's a real challenge. But once you find a balance of this and you can create some kind of sense of clarity and alignment, that's how transformation really can benefit the team. This is exactly what we'll tackle today. We'll dive into how to avoid these pitfalls and create a responsibility matrix that can work for your project.
The first crucial step is to identify core responsibilities and create a high-level responsibility matrix, and to define information exchange milestones as distinct use cases. Each use case may require different modeling approaches, different from information requirements, even different modeling tools as various teams and stakeholders will be involved. For example, we have certain requirements for quantity takeoff and different ones for coordination, field layouts, or facility management, etc. So these data drops must be clearly recognized.
Next, identify the requirements. In BIM projects, requirements are typically object-oriented, focusing on different building components and element groups. These elements should be structured also into a certain kind of classification hierarchy. Once component requirements are established per use case, we can specify the geometrical needs, responsibilities for information delivery, specification and documentation requirements, required information with predefined values and expectations. It is also essential to define roles and assign accountability. For instance, when a concrete slab initially designed by the architect transfers to the structural designer. Clear ownership definition at each project stage prevents duplicate elements that could compromise model-based quantification and coordination efforts.
Then integrate the matrix with other project documents. The responsibility matrix must align with the project's BEP, EIR, and MIDP. For instance, if the EIR specify who is responsible for model coordination at each stage, that should directly inform the matrix. So this integration creates a cohesive plan, ensuring consistency across all project workflows.
Finally, we can also refine this detailed responsibility matrix to make sure that the matrix is practical and actionable. For example, include task-specific deadlines, the tools required, and escalation processes for unresolved issues. The result is a matrix that not only defines responsibilities, but also serves as a functional guide to drive project execution efficiently.
Yep, absolutely. So let's walk through how you can use Planoly to define and manage this responsibility matrix. We can create high-level responsibility matrix where we organize the teams, the architectural, the structural, the MEP, and we can assign things like the start of a team's responsibilities, so starting architecture, finishing the architecture, for example, and these can be assigned to specific phases throughout a project. When we've defined those as tasks, we can see the timeline view and start to define maybe zero duration so that they're milestones, and then define some dependencies between these if they are required. We can also start to add in any of the requirements, maybe space planning and some of the early tasks that might be needed at this level. Defining these requirements in the grid, assigning members as responsible team members, and then viewing it in the timeline and starting to add dependencies between these tasks. We can also see it in a compact view and understand the waterfall of tasks for all of these different teams. We can do the same thing for the structural and the MEP teams by defining the milestones and adding the elements and the dependencies required. We can start to see all of these plans integrated together in the same view. This view makes it easy to see who's responsible for what and understand what deliverables are required at each stage in the project. Finally, we can also add specific information requirements directly to all of these elements. With just a few clicks, you can assign the necessary detailed requirements for each item, each line in the database, and ensure that the teams know exactly what's needed. By combining clear information requirements in milestones with these tasks and dependencies, all of the deliverables can be clearly identified and assigned to the right teams. Planoly provides an efficient way to manage these responsibilities and keep your project on track. So remember,
Don't plan late.
Plan early.
with Planoly. We'll see you in the next one.